Donald Trump is back in the headlines with a promise or a threat to deport millions of undocumented immigrants from the United States. But what's the real impact of this bold claim? In today's episode of Politics, we uncover how Trump's deportation plans might just be a bluff to push America's problems north, to Canada, and why it's part of a much bigger agenda. Is this a ploy to destabilize Canada's economy and government? Stick around as we connect the dots. First, let's get something straight. The logistics of deporting millions of people are practically impossible. Experts estimate that such an operation would cost upwards of $300 billion. Yes, billion with a B. This staggering cost includes enforcement, court proceedings, and transportation logistics. In a previous Politics video, we explored how Trump's plan would drain the U.S. economy more than it would solve any immigration issues. But Trump's strategy might not even be about deportation. It's about fear. By threatening mass deportations, Trump is creating panic among undocumented immigrants, particularly those who have built lives and families in the United States. And where do they turn when their lives are threatened? To Canada, their closest and most logical refuge. Canada has always been known as a welcoming nation, but its immigration system is already under immense pressure. Just last year, Canada processed over 150,000 asylum claims, many of them inland applications. Now, with Trump's deportation rhetoric heating up, we're seeing echoes of his first presidency, when thousands of asylum seekers crossed into Canada at unofficial border points like Roxham Road. History is repeating itself, but this time on an even larger scale. During Trump's first term, Canada experienced a surge in asylum seekers fleeing his anti-immigration policies. And now, with promises of mass deportations, Canadian authorities are bracing for another wave. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, has already deployed additional officers to patrol the 9,000-kilometer border. But with such a vast territory to cover, this task is monumental. So, is this really about immigration? Or is there a more sinister agenda at play? Trump has never shied away from making his feelings about Canada clear. In fact, he's openly discussed his desire to annex Canada into the United States. Yes, you heard that right. Annexation. We covered this outrageous idea in a previous Politics video where we dissected Trump's long-term ambitions to absorb Canada into his vision of a greater America. By pushing asylum seekers across the border, Trump is fueling an already heated debate within Canada about immigration. Housing shortages, healthcare strain, and labor market pressures have created fertile ground for division. And let's not forget, these problems aren't caused solely by immigration. As discussed in previous Politics episodes, Canada's housing crisis stems from decades of poor policy and lack of investment. But linking these issues to immigration helps sow distrust in the Canadian government and its ability to manage the country's challenges. Trump's plans are already falling into place. Canada's Prime Minister has been deposed, an event we analyzed in depth in another Politics video. The political instability this creates only furthers Trump's agenda. A fractured Canada, burdened with waves of asylum seekers, would struggle to maintain its economic and political sovereignty. And that's exactly what Trump wants. Make no mistake, Trump's deportation threats aren't just about the United States. They're about shifting America's problems onto its northern neighbor, destabilizing the Canadian government, and paving the way for his ultimate vision. By overwhelming Canada's immigration system, Trump is undermining public trust in Canada's leadership and weakening its standing on the global stage. So, how is Canada preparing for this potential crisis? The federal government has announced measures to tighten border security and speed up asylum application processing times. But with the sheer scale of the anticipated migration, These efforts might only scratch the surface. Canada has also revisited the Safe Third Country Agreement with the U.S., but even this international agreement has its limits. Unofficial crossings, like those at Roxham Road, expose loopholes that migrants will undoubtedly exploit. And let's not forget, Canada's compassionate reputation is both its strength and its vulnerability. How do you balance humanitarian principles with practical capacity? When you step back, the picture becomes clear. Trump's deportation threats, his ambitions to annex Canada, and the destabilization of its government all form part of a grand strategy. By forcing Canada to deal with waves of asylum seekers, he's creating chaos and eroding trust in Canadian institutions. Is this all a coincidence? Or is it a carefully orchestrated plan to cripple Canada? As Trump himself once said, "You'll see what happens." Well, we're seeing it now, and it's time to connect the dots. Trump's deportation plans aren't just a U.S. issue. They're a Canadian crisis in the making. From destabilizing our immigration system to eroding trust in our government, the consequences are far-reaching. But we can't let fear and division win. Stay informed, stay engaged, and most importantly, stay critical. Want to dive deeper into these issues? Check out our previous videos where we uncover the real cost of Trump's deportation plans, explain his ambitions to annex Canada, and analyze how he deposed Canada's Prime Minister. Don't miss out. Subscribe to Politics for the latest insights on the Canadian-US political sphere. Together, let's hold power to account. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, stay informed, and we'll see you next time on Politics.